Is Jeremy even here? He's got like a gazillion things to go over, and he's not here. So that will drop all the way down to item number 7. Oh yeah, how about we call a meeting order, have roll call vote. Roll call from Phyllis, rather.
Cam Collier.
Here.
Bill Carbach.
Here.
Ben Meyer.
Here. And our last meeting was on, the minutes of our meeting from May 3rd were emailed to everyone. Do you have a motion to approve those?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you. Now, Ann, let's talk first of all about some software from Eastern Engineering for our sewer project. Bill Slyke is here from AECom to participate possibly in our discussion of this as to why something like this is a good thing to have for our project. Ann, can you kind of brief us as to what this is?
We had our meeting to try to plan our flow charts on who is responsible for what, and the question came up where or how, like Nikki, our inspector, how will she upload pictures, information that she has daily, weekly, whatever, or does she have to email it, or so.
Let me interrupt a second. Do you know who Nikki is when she says Nikki?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's 3 different engineering firms involved with this, all right? So, and Nikki would be the inspector. Go ahead, yeah.
She's with Butler.
Fairman Seaford.
So then John Duffett, after the meeting, he forwarded some information about Eastern Engineering having this software package that it's like a one-stop shop. Everybody has email, you can upload files, pictures, different people can have access to different areas. You can limit what emails I get. I don't need to see everything. Anyway.
Is it kind of a cloud storage?
It's cloud-based, so people in the field can access it. We're already doing business with Eastern Engineering. They're the ones that supplied the plans, had them on their website for the bidding. Tony... Dargo.
Close.
Yeah, he called and talked to me about it, and he promised any kind of support. He'll do training. He has to set it up. It's not a generic program. It is set up based on our project and the people involved. If people change partway through the project, people can be removed and other people added to it. He is there through the whole thing to keep it customized to what we need. If some settings aren't working for us a month into it, he can change things so it's working more smoothly. Then Bill volunteered to come because he used similar software at another project, and
What it's doing is you're taking all your paperwork that comes in from the contractor and goes back through the process of managing the project and puts it in one place where you can track where it is. For example, a submittal comes in on a particular piece of equipment or pipe, something that we need. The contractor submits it, it gets logged into this software, and it's cloud, but this puts a user interface in the cloud, so you can see who is currently responsible for the reviewing or processing of it, and it's step by step. And then other items, such as quantities that Nikki, the inspector, would keep track of, they could be visible to the city, to me, to Clark Dietz, without having it necessarily be available to the contractor unless we choose to pull it out and put it in another area. It makes it a very organized kind of like an electronic file cabinet, but it's out there where everybody can get to it, and then you don't have to worry about taking typically email, like when Nikki does pictures, she would only be able to send like 2 at a time in an email. She can just go plug her computer in, upload, they all go. Everybody who's supposed to see them can see them. If you want to get notified, like typically for my role, I would get a notice, hey, Nikki just uploaded 20 pictures. Well, unless there's something that Ann needs to look at, you know, she can get in and see them, but she may not want to get every notice of that every time it comes up, so she can control how many emails she gets. And every user has that ability, and the city would have the ability to set the controls of who sees what. So
It
it's very
does
helpful.
include at the end, then, what do you call it?
You get a CD or series of them of all the data.
Website, yeah, closeout package with
Right.
files.
And I think
And
the book,
we have up to 36 months to close it out. They would keep it.
The fact that we have, Clark Dietz and Butler, Fairman, Seifert, is it Seifert or Seifert? Seifert, and AECom, who will all be coming and going at various times. Bill may be here sometimes when Nikki's here, and they can discuss things, whatever, but this is a way of bringing them all together anytime they need to be throughout every day, so.
and if we need to get instructions of the contractor, they'll have a certain amount of access to see that as well. Like, again, with the submittals, that's one of the key things where it becomes handy, is they can see, hey, I need this submittal back, where is it? And, oh, we got it. Or, oh, it's waiting here. If they didn't get it in enough time, maybe it was some change sitting on an engineer's desk. It's like, I can send an email and say, hey, we need this one back. What's the holdup? And step in as technical help to the city to go, what's the issue? Is there something here? Can we approve this one? Where's the status?
What's the backup plan? If we didn't do this, how would it happen?
Go by this
Probably-
great big filing cabinet.
Yeah. Essentially, I don't know if you're familiar with the term an FTP site. A cloud is a FTP site, which FTP means File Transfer Protocol, and that's basically a website or storage off in cyberspace that this is putting an interface on. Clark Dietz has said they have an FTP site. The catch there is then we have to set up manually and take more time on who has access to what. You have to manually go in and make sure you email it to all the right people, and it becomes more of a burden for people to track what's going on. You can get your reports right out of this software.
And didn't you say Clark Dietz was the one that actually kind of suggested this? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they must not want everyone in there.
And I've used a similar software on a couple other projects in the past, and it is very helpful, especially when the more people, the more people that have their hands in things and need to know where things are, and intercommunication just becomes a whole lot easier to have it there, because even if you don't email somebody, they can go in and see where it is. Like Ann could just go, okay, I'm in the damn middle of her project, click, poof, all this stuff came in. Okay, good, done. She doesn't even need an email. If we don't have the software, then she has to go searching around to see what came in, and if there's not an email sent, she wouldn't be able to do that because you don't have that cataloging of all the data.
It'd be more raw data on
It's
that.
correct. It's basically then somebody in the project spending more time, probably me, spending more of my time managing where it's all at, making sure it's all filed and it's all accessible to the right people.
It will just make the job go smoother, and when we come to the end of everything, we'll have everything documented and in a place where it's all easily accessible.
Right.
And,
And
yeah, there's a little cost to it, but I think it looks like a great idea.
I just looked at it and really that's probably less than, you're either they're getting the training and all the support for next to nothing and paying for some storage. I'm not sure what the going rate on storage is, or it's like getting a week of somebody doing setup and training and help throughout the duration of the project, and then cataloging it at the end. So you got 2 days setup, a day of training, a day of help, a day of cataloging. That's the cost of this.
What, do we really need 36 months?
No, but I don't think that's from them.
That's just the package that it is. It's not, like it would be cheaper to have a shorter time period.
Right.
No.
Yeah, the project's slated for 6 months, I think, or 7. So, end of the year, and I don't think that it's going to be...
I guess my question is, can we use it beyond the project?
Well, see, it's that it will be set up for this project. I think we'd have to pay them to re-enter if we were using...
Like when this is done and we go doing monitoring and whatever, we can't
Yeah.
utilize this.
It'd take a whole reset up for a whole different project.
Right, a new project would be a new reset because you would have
New
new contractors,
hierarchy,
new documents, you'd want to start cataloging the paperwork from the
want it
beginning
separate.
again. This is one piece.
It's
You
very
will still have
technical.
access, and everyone involved would still have access after the project, so it's not like, oh, project's over, it goes away. It's still there, and you get the digital copies as well. So I think they said, didn't they say it takes about 6 months to get those, or a little more to get the digital copies all compiled and finalized? I don't remember how long it took.
So the package is probably covering larger projects.
Well, it said in here for a project $4 million
Yeah.
and less, but they have tiers.
So they've tiered it so it handles larger projects, but it also handles your project quite
Right.
fine and have enough storage that,
Right.
like Bill said, it would go out for 6 months.
I mean, we're talking, if it went at 36 months, we're talking $100 a month, so it seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
It's less than 0.1% of the total project cost. If you,
That's what we thought.
Yeah, you're right. Math in my head.
I used a calculator, so sorry. I don't do public math.
So, if everyone is in favor of this, I'd like to have a motion to let Ann pursue with Eastern Engineering.
So moved?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And would this be paid from sewer
Sewer
operating
project.
or the bond?
What was
Does it get paid from the bond or sewer operating fund?
the bond?
The bond.
The bond. Bond. James. Okay, and then ask for approval of the contract.
Yeah, okay. The contract's sitting on my desk, but I've reviewed it, so...
This is AECom's contract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought I had it, but when the contract was presented a couple weeks ago, I reviewed it and called Tiffany. We made some modifications to it. It's in final form, so I need the Board of Works to okay Ken signing the agreement so that we can get that done. I'm sure Bill would appreciate it since he's already working, assuming it's going to be...
What, do you generally know what modifications you...
They were more of a minor nature. I mean, whoever prepared the document kind of worked off the original contract we had with AECom when they were doing the monitoring before the project was even done. And so there were some changes in the language just to clear that out, that what we're talking about is a different project than that. It was just an oversight on whoever prepared it that they didn't pick that up.
But it was basic,
It was
it was off of this, though. That's what, when Tiffany was here.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was incorporated into the new contract.
Yeah, and it's, the rate is consistent, the not to exceed figure is consistent, so yes.
Well, since approval, I'll make a motion that we sign the contract.
All right,
And
I'll bring it
move
down to
forward.
Ken in the morning.
I have a motion. Bill, do you have a second down there?
I'll
We do.
second, Jeff.
And all in favor?
Aye. Aye,
Opposed,
yeah.
the same. And then speaking of contracts, we have Fleming's contract to do the project, which we do not have returned to us yet. However, we won't have another council meeting for 3 weeks because of the amount of Tuesdays this month. And we would like to approve that contract before then. So what I would like is a motion pending it coming back and being approved by Tim, and if everything looks good, that we approve it, pending all that. Go ahead.
How does it differ from?
It doesn't. It's the contract that was included in the bid specifications. It's been sent out to Fleming. They just haven't gotten it back to us in order for Ken to sign it tonight. So rather than have a special meeting between now and June 7th, assuming that Fleming signs the contract and gets it back, you're just authorizing Ken to go ahead and sign the agreement and then deliver a notice to proceed.
I kind of like special meetings.
You can have one.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll make a motion to give Ken approval to sign the contract.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same.
And that also includes delivery or issuance of the notice to proceed. Is that correct?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Let's do the Brent Arnold thing next year, Phyllis. You can have this if you'd like it. We have from Brent Arnold, is this a contract? It's an
It's an
agreement.
agreement.
It's an agreement from Brent Arnold, and I think, Tim, you've already pretty much reviewed this, to install a sanitary sewer extension along...
Thank you.
What would that be? County Road, what?
500?
500.
Right.
On the east edge of the old Grey Goose.
Yeah.
For that half-mile stretch there, there are, I think, 8 or 9 homes across the street that if he puts this sewer line in, as they tap into it, there would be a charge. And Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, that on that charge, they would pay the city and then we'd reimburse
Right.
Brent
There's
Arnold.
a state statute that allows a developer who fronts the cost of extending a line, that if subsequently somebody ties into that, that developer is entitled to recoup a prorated amount of the upfront cost that he or she paid, that now benefits this person that's tying in. So what it is they pay not only our tap fee, because once it's put in, it's dedicated to the city, so we're entitled to charge a tap fee for that house to tie in, but he's also entitled for, I think it's up to 15 years, in which to recoup the cost if somebody subsequently ties in. Otherwise, it's unjust enrichment to the homeowner who didn't have to pay anything for access to the line.
Now, at this time, those 8 or 9 homes along there, they don't have city water or sewer, correct?
I believe that's correct.
So they tied into this, then we would start issuing them an out-of-town
Correct.
invoice
And
each month.
it's my understanding that a number of the homes along there have failed sewer or septic systems, and that the health department's been pushing for them to resolve this. This gives them the ability to tie into our system and eliminate that problem.
These are the homes west of 28th Street on the north side of 500, across from the Grey Goose.
Right.
It's where he lives now.
If you go out 500 and turn left at the Grey Goose, there'd be all the homes on the left-hand side in that half-mile stretch, along hole number, what used to be hole number 5.
Right.
They head south,
You'd be
down
going
down
south.
28.
Right.
Yeah, as you're heading south,
It's
it'd be
our
on the
28th
east
Street.
side of the road.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't this the line that he kind of put in?
No,
This isn't.
no, this has not been put in.
Okay, now,
He tied in Nigliazzo
yeah, that's it.
through the corner of Grey Goose. He cut across
Playing by the rules this time.
corner.
Okay.
So we're actually saying the line is going to run north and south
Yes.
along 100
That's
west.
correct.
Yep.
That's what that is,
This-
100 west 28th.
This is kind of the one we wanted to have done.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
those homes out there are, in need of it. There's a few properties that isn't,
So he's running it on the west side of the road.
Correct.
They're going to have to bore under the road to get to it.
Yes.
But that's his property.
Yes.
Okay.
Now you got it. Now you
Got it.
Should have brought a map.
I thought he was going east and west along his property because his house is
One down.
on down there and he wants to build out there.
Mhm.
Well, this has the easements with the Hope Church, or New Hope Church, I guess, attached to it.
Well, former New Hope Church. Is
Yeah.
there still a church there? Yeah, okay.
But those are the properties that
Yeah,
can
the
come in.
homeowners, Seth Haynes, Randy and Robin Couch, Rick and Barbara Ralston, Larry and Janet Parker, Doug and Teresa Schisler have 2 lots, Dale Biggs, Edward and Megan Resendez, and Melissa and Scott Rickard are the homes.
There's all the potential homes that could tie into it.
and how far does our line go down 500?
The city?
Yeah,
or
the city's
the-
line.
To that corner, right?
Yeah,
To that corner?
on the north side of that subdivision that's out there.
I think this is one that Nate, I believe, designed.
Right. Yeah, Nate designed this, and
Yeah, I kind of remember him talking about it.
Right, and I believe
he's
it's
already, it's,
And then a low-
I got the signed copy
low
back in my office.
pressure line that they're gonna tie into,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
It's a kind of a no-brainer, I think, really.
Right.
It's very similar to what Tim's brother and Matt did out
Yeah,
off Pickle Road there.
when DDS and Carl Baker
Right.
tied their properties in, went under 224 and tied into the sewer line up at Belmont Road, they had this same type of agreement, so it's just a way for a developer who's willing
So it doesn't matter.
to front the cost of putting in the improvement to recoup that if somebody subsequently ties in.
Yeah, I just don't understand why.
Why he ran it that way.
Why
or-
he would want,
Oh, Brent?
what's he...
Well, he'll probably tie into it himself when he builds.
Yes, I think he's going to build out there.
But he's building...
He'll
west side
probably
of-
want to tie into it, I suppose.
Well, I think that's what this is, isn't
No.
it? Are you
Oh,
sure?
he's farther down.
Yeah, what?
So he has
saying
to
is,
run-
This is running north and south. You know where the old Grey Goose
Yeah.
church?
Yeah.
He's going to build west. At least he was going to build west. I don't know if he's moved it.
Right.
Yeah, because
Oh,
he's
maybe-
selling land.
Oh,
He'd have to come across there.
So, this is New Hope with the pond, right?
Yeah.
And this is, well, Kyle Martin's parents live across the street, right? They live all those houses here. Brent lives down here.
Correct.
And he owns all this land.
Mhm.
So this is where Mrs. Scheidler and all
Right.
those, right?
mhm.
So
It's all those houses going...
he's putting it here.
Right.
So all these homes can tie into it.
hmm
Okay.
Who has
All
that brand
these
new
homes on the
home
east.
that
on-
nobody lives in?
On the east side
Yeah.
of 20.
Yeah.
All these, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't the Grey Goose, isn't that building tied in?
It is.
Yeah.
Because it's like that, there's that corner. Because they brought Nigliozzo's homes over here. He tied it all the way into
To that.
that.
Is that house for sale?
Tim, does Arnold
Lazarus?
pay for that recording fee, or do we?
Sure.
It should be on.
Arnold should, so I should bill him for that?
Well, I will make, so what are we doing?
We're just making this matter of record.
I'll make it a matter of record.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Second, yeah.
Brent,
All right.
for doing it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Really, whatever
Jeremy.
his ideas are.
Right.
And council, if you want to join us,
Initially, I thought he was ultimately gonna tie into it.
He is, but,
He'd have to come a long way.
I don't,
and he's selling 13 acres right back here.
is he selling?
Jeremy, you want to see if that mic's
Maybe
on?
that's part of it.
I don't
So
think it
that's
is.
it. He's going to develop
No,
that
it's
back
not.
there.
He's selling that so they can tie in, because that's not, there's no way that would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tyler, by the way, guys, called me yesterday, said he likely wouldn't make the Board of Works meeting. Wasn't positive that he'd make the council meeting. Had a family event that he needed to be at earlier. He thought he'd make it to council, though. Jeremy has about 7 to 11 things he'd like to go over. Where do you want to start, Jeremy? Paving? All right.
Yeah, it's fine. The last couple, 2 or 3 meetings, we've been talking about paving and streets that need attention. During all that conversation, additional money was discussed that we are at some point to get from the state. The asphalt companies are getting really overwhelmed with the amount of numbers and estimate requests and stuff that are coming back, so
Because of all this additional money coming
I
in.
don't have the updated numbers that we had thought that we would have tonight. He said he would get them to us this week, but, so I guess what I would really like to propose, just at this point, I made a list of some different areas that we probably really should take a look at here early on in the year. With a lot of these areas are the streets that require the center line and edge striking. So, Tyler.
I got, we just took that. Get Tim.
That are going to require the center line and edge striking. So, for an example, in some of the streets, which you guys know a lot of them already, like Winchester Road, Jackson Street, definitely need some attention. Some of them aren't total lengths. There's been some patching on several of these, so what I would like to do is, on our early round here, is to start working on some of these 12 areas. Some of them are just some little patches. For an example, number 12, patch 17th Street. 17th Street's in very poor condition. It's a concrete street that needs some patching that we can do in-house. You're only looking about $5,000 to $6,000 to put that street pretty well back into shape. Manchester's the same way, out by Tim. That's probably only about a $3,000 or $4,000 repair.
Manchester? That's where? That's the one that comes up?
Goes back to the innovative concepts.
Innovative, okay, all right, yeah, that's
The
bad.
corner needs...
It had a sewer issue. The sewer was leaking, and what was happening, it was drawing all that gravel into the storm sewer. That problem's been repaired. The street's just sunk. So a good portion of that street needs to, basically, just needs to be torn out and poured back in.
So patch Manchester with concrete's 4,000 roughly?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay, and about
Yeah.
6 for 17?
Yep, and then there's some additional streets here. Bowman Street, I think everyone would agree, that needs some help.
I like that it's number 1 on the list.
We still need to do some water service connections on that street. Milling that thing early on is going to help out immensely, just getting it milled flat. And then we can go in and do our repairs, patch it, and then have it paid.
And what did you say you needed to do? Water what?
Replace the water services due to the water main that we put in last summer, or late last summer. See, we replaced the water main on part of Rod, all of Throat, all of Bowman. We started getting late into the year around the leaf season that we pulled off of it to get caught up on some things on the water side that needed to be done. We just didn't get all the houses and stuff hooked back up. Well, I wouldn't say hooked back up, but hooked to the new line. So, going on to number 2, out at Highview Court, where Dan lives, that had some serious under drainage issues. We went through last year and put under drains under it, which in turn extends the life of the pavement. So there's a little bit of patching and paving there. Greenleaf, that was
A mess.
that really took a mess this summer, or this past winter, so. And you can see some of these areas. Some of them I probably won't do right away, like the alley at Legion Park, the alley behind the library, some of these things. I really want to focus on some of the internal patching that we would do, the paving on the main streets that we need to get restriped so we can get that work done, and then come back once we get the adjusted estimates and sit down with you and see where you want to go further, because by then hopefully we would have the additional money, and then the money that's still, that is already appropriated, that we can put that on top of there and get into some more of the residential areas that really need to be addressed.
Just two kinds of streets. You got the paved asphalt streets and you got the concrete streets. And the concrete streets, I assume, is a lot more labor intensive?
Yeah, because there's removal, a lot of jackhammering. It's gotten easier over the years from the equipment that we purchased. It's more convenient because we
So
can,
you
we can
replace it
tear
with
it out.
concrete? I mean, you tear out and put new concrete in?
Yep.
So where I was going with this is that the street off of 27 by Chakotas, it goes back into Tim's
back to
subdivision.
Tim's.
Yeah, that whole area back in there, I think, is all concrete for the most part, isn't it?
A good portion of that, where you turn at Tim's and go north, if you would, it turns back to asphalt.
Okay.
A lot of what we've done in there in that addition, like at Rochester Court and Berkeley Court, back when Leica was still in business, I had Lefevre come up, and we actually tilted the mill and went, and Craig understands this terminology. I don't want to offend anybody here.
Just
but
if it's good, just shake your head,
we
yes.
tilted the mill to keep that gutter plate, to keep the flow line still intact. We milled just along the edge, took the center right off of it, down about 3/4 of an inch to an inch, tacked it and paved it. Paved right over top of it. It's worked out really, really well. That is a good possibility for Tim's, because I don't know where you would start and stop. Because it's shifted so much, it's cracked, it's raised, it's heaved, it's dropped, it's...
Yeah, if my memory serves me right, like I said, going back that street,
I get it.
don't even know what the name of that street is. It goes back there.
Southampton.
I get a massage
Southampton.
every time I drive down the street.
That is one on the list.
That's because you have such a luxury car, that's why.
But I guess where I'm going with this is there's 3 or 4 areas
Hey, your car's
on more of the highly traveled streets that we need to address. And then once we get those done, I would suggest that we get into more of the residentials.
I'm sorry?
He says take care of the high traffic first and then get into the
Right.
residential. I mean, is it customary to take care of alleys for the city?
When they're as bad as some of these are.
All right.
And basically, what we would do is, or what I'm trying to keep from, is getting everything tore up. Because once you get it tore up, the weather turns, it's going to turn into a huge mess. So if we can phase some of this in over the next 3 to 4 months.
And the availability of the blacktop companies too, correct?
They're not wanting, I've shared with them where we could be, where we could potentially be over one package or 2 or 3 packages. None of them want to do it in one package because it's so much work, and they're going to have to be other places also.
And you're utilizing a couple of paving companies.
We have 2 paving companies. I've still been making them bid or give me estimates to make sure that we're getting the most bang for our buck.
Brooks and Wayne.
Brooks and Lane, correct. With that, I've been also talking with Three Rivers Barricade, and it's been almost 8 years now since we've striped all the streets, did all the center line striping. And for an example, those would be like Winchester Road, Village Green Drive, some of those highly traveled streets. Some of them, the markings aren't there at all because we paved. Some of them you can't hardly see. Three Rivers Barricade is working on some updated numbers. A prime area that we get a lot of complaints about is Walmart, where that island and stuff's out there and all the turn lanes. You know,
Yep.
we're looking to do all of that. We've exchanged some numbers back and forth, some different footages. they're gonna get me some updated numbers, but for an example, you're looking right at $40,000 to do all the striping. So you can,
All over the city?
yes, which is gonna make a huge difference, you know, appearance-wise and
Budget
streets
and all that.
cleaned up.
Can we use the paving funds for that?
In the past, what we've done is there's a line item for pavement markings, and then 8 years ago, how we did it was then we transferred some money or paid some out of the repairs and maintenance fund. So
I was referring to the Lowit money that was coming.
we can,
Okay,
but
if need be.
this would be done prior to probably the next phase where we would
Would
get
use
into
that money.
Lowit funds.
You want to get this stuff striped before you call the pavers again?
Well, what I want to do is get the 3 or 4 streets done that we need to get done. Get everything buttoned up, get everything striped, and then sit down with you guys in the next meeting or two, probably 2 meetings now,
Go over the next
and
group of them.
let's go through the next round.
Okay.
We need to use the money to our benefit, and get into some of the residential areas. Some of the residential areas are starting to look pretty rough in some places, so.
Three Rivers is how much?
It's just, I don't have the exact number, it's just a little over 40,000. The one quote was 28,210.53, and then the additional work that I added on was 12,609.38.
Okay, a little over 40 then.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Like I said, I don't have the updated both quotes. I will get those to you for the next meeting, just to go through the approval process.
When would these guys come in, did they say, for this first round?
They've been calling me for the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, so they can get in here
So,
anytime.
Yeah, they're wanting to get going.
You guys see that they're getting all the corners and curbing and stuff like that painted up pretty nice. It's going to look pretty
That's
sharp.
some of the summer help that's doing that, yeah.
So we're looking probably mid-June or something when we get this baby striped, these
Um,
buttoned up and striped.
Brandon thought, I think Brandon would have almost liked to have been here from Brooks's about now, so I would think within the next couple of weeks we can get the paving done, at least get them in here. And then I would bring you, like I said, updated quote for all the striping, both quotes. Hopefully, what I normally like to do is get striping done right after, because some of these are pretty dark to start with.
Yep.
Due to inadequate lighting and such, that you don't want to wait a long time in between striping.
Rainy night, somebody runs off the road.
Exactly. They have a hard enough time during the day with that. So, that's all I have on the paving.
Okay?
So Jeremy, these are the prices that it's going to be, and the quotes are for
Approximately.
striping.
There's some adjusted numbers here. I'll get you the actual
Okay.
adjusted numbers
Okay.
whenever Brandon gets back with me.
I'll just let you take these in what order you want to go. I'll check them off as we go.
I was contacted by NDOT this week, actually, it would have been first part of last week, with the raising of the 224 project. They are setting up their mark detours. They're going to try their best to keep all the truck traffic and stuff out of Decatur during the raising of the 224. With that in mind, you will have the normal local detours. You will have Cam trying to get home, the people on that, Wiley trying to get home, the people on that, the people trying to get on that side of the river. What NDOT is requesting is they're going to do this in phases. They're going to do the first phase basically from the bridge to Monroe Street. When that's closed, which way would you guys go home? Don't mean to put you on the spot, but when that's restricted or tore up.
Jackson Street to the school.
Okay. Now let's move on down. Let's open that up. Let's close Monroe to the ag building. Which way are you gonna come back and forth with the first phase being open?
Through Stratton.
Well, East Monroe would be open now, correct?
East Monroe would be open.
So you'd be coming
Yeah.
across the bridge and hanging right on East Monroe.
So that's what they're asking. They're asking us to ask ourselves that question. What they're gonna do is, as long as you guys are okay with it, is they want me to present them a letter saying that we understand that there's going to be local traffic, meaning going down Jackson Street, going out Monroe Street, to get around, to be able to get home. We've identified these two areas.
And to school.
And to school. We've identified these
And
two
work.
areas. What NDOT is willing to do at this point is, prior to construction, they will sit down with us, we will discuss the route, make sure that the locals know what the route is. They will videotape, take pictures, we will actually do physical inspections of these two roads. Any damage that is occurred during this construction caused by the additional truck traffic, normal everyday traffic, NDOT will pick up the expense for these repairs.
Now,
We can only have one street for each closure though, that we could claim.
really,
Correct.
So if we damaged East Monroe enough, we could get them to raise it?
You wouldn't raise it, but they would resurface it.
Jeremy, are you talking truck traffic also?
They're going to keep the truck traffic out of the city due to the posted. She said if there's an issue, either myself or you are to contact the state police, and the state police will handle.
you've already got that detour route, don't you, Jeremy?
What's that?
That map kind of already showed that detour route for the
Correct.
trucks.
Correct.
We've got that, you can get that to you.
So,
And I'd like to be in on your meeting too.
How long do they predict that that's going to be
it's
detoured,
probably
closed?
going to, see, it's in two phases. We don't know that 100%. You're probably looking at about a year and a half construction on both phases together.
The very most inconvenient part that I recall when we had the meeting would be when the entrance to Stratton off of Monroe Street, it will be closed for a couple months. That'll be inconvenient for all those homes in Stratton. They'll have to actually access, the only way in and out will be off of East Monroe Street. So that's probably the most inconvenient time, but they're trying to work everything around when school's in session and, you know, so,
You're still looking at the second week in September for this to bid of this year. Off-site construction will be this fall, this winter, meaning the pond across from McBride's, where the creek, or where Don Creek going at, where the Ideal sign is.
They're going to make
And
that
then
an
a
actual
pond off
pond.
of Monroe Street itself, over by where Greg Fleming has that pond. They're doing some changes and stuff out in there. All that activity will happen this winter. They have until, I believe it's April 15th to get all that completed. And then they will actually start on phase one, which would be the bridge to Monroe Street.
They're going to actually dig a pond in that corner of Jackson and
They're
Well, it won't be-
going to make it deeper for just basically detention.
yeah, not a
It's
retention,
not
but
going to be a
detention.
wet pond. It'll be a dry pond.
that fills up when it
Correct.
rains.
Right.
Correct. To let the water go under it and then go out.
But it'll be a little deeper than it is now.
Correct.
And I'm assuming North Adams has been fully involved in this,
Mhm.
because that's going to be a major headache for them during the school year.
Correct. We've had meetings at Riverside with the state, and North Adams has been involved.
They've been involved.
Jeremy, when you asked that question, okay, when Monroe Street's closed, how are you going to go? And you said Jackson Street, okay? Well, when the homeowners come up Jackson Street to Monroe Street, is that where NDOT is going to quit watching? Or if these three guys here, all three, continue on through Belmont on North Adams Drive, or are they expected to turn left and go out to County Road 200, or, yeah, I mean,
That gets into private property, so I'm sure the school's probably having the same conversation with the state.
I hope so. Well, we'll check with Brent on that.
Because you know that, Belmont Estates and probably Anthony Lane and some
They're
of
gonna
those
cut through the school,
are
for
gonna
sure.
get a lot of that traffic
They do
across the
now.
school property.
Yeah,
That's used all the time now.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's really going to be magnitude when
Yeah,
you
right.
when you close that section of street that
Right.
you're used to using every day.
There's no way to
But it's
fix the road without
particularly used by people so they get a traffic light.
Yeah.
Rather than going
Trying to come up there by
at the
the
corner,
town
corner,
someplace
yeah,
and
they'll
get out.
they'll
Yeah.
turn and go through the school so they have a light.
Hey, Jeremy, most of our houses can be a new road anyway, right? Because it's going to slope.
But the phases though.
During the construction.
That would be in like phase 2, 3, or whatever we're looking at, so. I guess my request tonight is to keep communicating with the state with your permission
Absolutely.
to try to work this out, and we will just identify Monroe Street and Jackson Street. Now also with the request on paving, the east side of the bridge on Jackson Street is included with the paving. We're going to have to do that regardless. But
It's bad.
it's bad.
It's going to be a route anyway, so they're going to fix it if it gets messed up.
And that's what I talked to Susan about today. She called kind of for a status, and I told her what we had in mind. She goes, perfect. She said it takes a lot of the question out of it. We know it's new pavement. Well, you know, if need be, it will be back in new pavement whenever it's completed.
And while we're talking paving and patching and whatever, coming in to town on East Monroe, when you get by the old Townsend where we dug, when do you anticipate patching that for
I was
short
going to
term?
announce that tonight. That will be closed Friday morning after school's in session and should be open back up by the end of the day.
Okay.
We are going to patch that ourselves. I have asphalt ordered for tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday
Good.
for various patches around the
Well,
city.
we'll let you announce that later in your report, so.
But I wanted to get it out a couple days prior just to make sure that everyone had noticed that at 8 o'clock we're going to have to dig it back up.
Okay. Next on your list, catch basins maybe?
Yeah, we've been working the last 3 days. The truck is here for catch basin cleaning and inspection. We're starting to find some interesting things, which is not really too much out of the ordinary. The last several weeks, Dan and I have been communicating back and forth with some of the storm sewer things that we need to address and things that Nate and I had talked about. Before he left, the stuff he kind of had on his agenda or his kind of project list to look at. We're finding a few catch basins in older parts of the city that are just falling in. That we're going to, throughout the summer here, we're going to have to address, get them dug up, get them replaced. It's pretty minimal. You're talking $400 to $500 if we do it in-house to replace.
You just put new rings up and new castings?
No, we dig it up and replace the barrel and the casting and such. You're about $500 in materials if you have to replace the casting and the catch basin, then a little bit of labor. So as you start to see some of these things, I realize we don't have a stormwater manager at this point, but we're still addressing the things that we need to address, you know, as we're finding. This
Prior to
stuff. Paving and defective areas. This week, actually today, we cleaned 2nd Street, all the storm sewer and the catch basins. Found a lot of really interesting things down there too, so we corrected a lot of that through the actual project.
Can you name any of them?
Well, there's sumps in some of these basins that are about 4 foot below the pipe that are just big cesspools and just, so we cleaned them out. I've talked with Verlin and we basically took the sump out of it. We poured stone and concrete in them, brought that sump out so you don't have the mosquito pit and the stagnant water and stuff. So we're going around addressing some of that also. There is one place that down on Kikianga Street that Nate was talking with a homeowner. There's been several years of a sewer failure, if you will. We're going to need to address that this summer with, you know, running basically a new sewer line down the alley to tie it back into the storm sewer. It's pretty minor. Just want to make you guys aware that some of that stuff, as you see some of the bills come in through, that that project will be going. I will be bringing you a proposal for the Eastbrook sewer. Remember a few meetings ago when the 2 gentlemen from Eastbrook were in here?
Right.
We had Bobby Gavin and a couple of them from the wastewater department go out and jet that sewer. They pulled a lot of roots and a lot of mud and stuff back with that. I was also talking with Dan during that process. we feel that we can take Nate's numbers and Nate's sizing and stuff on the pipe and construct that next phase for around $20,000, doing it in-house. So we're looking at some of that stuff to be able to get that addressed also at the same time. That's been an ongoing problem for many, many years that really needs to be addressed. So
That's reasonable.
And when were you anticipating doing that?
probably late this summer.
Okay, and has that been communicated to those families?
No, it has not. I'm still waiting on the numbers and stuff back. I don't want to go talk to the families until we know that
Okay.
we have sufficient funds to,
Keep me in the loop on that.
Yeah.
I got their names and phone numbers. I'd like to call them myself also.
I just don't want to make promises on some of this stuff without knowing that we have the funding to
Okay.
do that.
They do know the work that has been done, right?
Yes,
When you
correct.
cleaned it out.
Correct.
So they know something's going on.
Yeah, they come home with a lot of mud and stuff in their backyard that day because when the jetter went through it, pushed everything out of the catch basins, and they didn't mind. It was cleaned out, so.
So the catch basin cleaning is, per catch basin, is the timing of it, or you think we're going to be able to cover the whole city, or you,
I think so. It would be very close, but I think so. That
at least all the troubled spots for sure?
the longest portion was today because these basins are so deep. It just takes a lot of time. When you're 5 foot in the ground, cleaning out all this stuff with the pipe going down into there, it takes a lot of time. Normally, you're 24 to 36 inches in the ground to the bottom of it, and someone's half full, someone's quarterly full. So not all of them will need to be cleaned. Luke Harvey's went around for the last couple of weeks, actually physically
Is
inspecting.
that what the rod, I saw somebody here, they were putting a rod down
Correct.
there?
Correct.
Okay.
If you see somebody sticking a rod in there or a pink X, either on the street or on the casting,
Yeah.
that identifies that it needs cleaned. If you go on to the next one and you don't see that mark,
Yeah.
it's probably a new catch basin that has no bottom in it or no sump in it where the pipe's laying on the bottom and no debris collects in there. Because the newer ones during the last couple phases of the CSO projects end up at one of the defenders where the debris drops into the defender and the water goes on.
So the pink X means needs cleaned?
Correct. So not every catch basin in the city has a big X.
Right.
So
Gotcha. Yeah.
that's speeding up the process immensely by having Luke do that the last couple of weeks.
So you plan to go out there to the, across from Scott's? Let me know when that one's done.
Yes.
Let me know when you're doing it. I'd kind of like to go out there.
I want you guys to get some more time on that truck.
Yep.
Get used to it on the side streets before we go out on the highway.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Jeremy on the catch basin cleaning?
Jeremy, how many of these big, large defectors do we have?
I'm the answer, and there's 2 defenders, or 3 defenders.
Mayor Ish would be there all day.
Marshall, the city parking lot, and then down by Second and Monmouth.
Okay, so there's 3.
And at one time Nate was talking to me and he said we could use a couple more. Is that different areas or?
I was never in
Is
that
there one
conversation.
at Marshall?
I believe that there is down there at Joe Stanley's at the Murray Inn.
To me, that looks like those are the way to go. I think they're,
You have a lot less standing water
yeah,
because the debris will not collect in the catch basins.
right, that goes to the,
Now there are a few in the first phase of that project that have some problems because I've noticed the last couple of rains that they're holding a lot of water back. So whether it's something stuck in the pipe or whether it's just a catch basin issue, but we have those marked to be cleaned and jetted.
but as you're doing it, do you see a need for some more of those
Possibly during,
those big deflectors?
yeah, possibly.
Yeah, might kind of keep that in mind, because
Mhm.
Nate showed me the whole drawing and showed me some of them, and to me, I don't know, that's a good way to go, I think.
I don't have my list, was that everything? I'd